Am I the asshole for fake sleeping all night to see if my wife is lying? The past couple of months, my wife has been complaining about our cats. She's been claiming that the cats wake her up constantly and that she's frustrated every night that she has to get up and open the door for the cats. Or the cats keep making noises, or the cats keep jumping on her. It got me to the point where she started saying she wants me to get rid of them. I've told her I've never seen or heard any of this, but she claims I sleep through it all. She kept telling me that she was getting less and less sleep and kept acting aggressive, blaming lack of sleep from the cats and that if I didn't get rid of them, she'd leave me. I legitimately started considering giving the cats to my sister until I noticed something. One morning, she claimed she had gotten up multiple times throughout the night to help the cats. She listed a bunch of times. I thought it was weird because I had been up until 4 a.m. and she claimed that she got up at 1 a.m. to open the door for them and a few times around 3 a.m. because they were meowing and jumping on her. I was in the bedroom the entire time while she slept, and I know none of this happened. Things weren't adding up, so I decided to run a test. I waited until she said she was going to bed, then I let the cats out of our bedroom. I lowered my phone brightness and faked going to sleep. I just laid there in my bed for the entire night bored, but I definitely did not fall asleep. I made sure to make timestamps every 30 minutes on my phone through Discord just to be sure. I marked down every noise my cats made. One cat had jumped down from something and made a little noise around 3:18 a.m. and one ate food relatively quietly by the bedroom door at 4:57 a.m. Other than that, nothing happened. Sure enough, my wife slept from 11 p.m. until 9 a.m. and that morning she claimed she had woken up at least 7 times to open doors from the cat noises and cats jumping on her. At this point, I was pissed because she was clearly lying to me. I was exhausted and fed up with the lies, so I bluntly called her out on it. I told her, "That's funny. I stayed up all night to monitor the cats and they weren't even in the room at all last night. I have timestamps and everything, so you've been lying to me and trying to convince me to get rid of my cats? Why?" She just sat there quietly shaking and looking, asking me to head over to some family therapy. Apparently, she finally wanted to talk. I'll be honest, I'm pretty pissed at the reason why she's been so hateful towards my cats. It's absolutely insane. It's nothing that anyone has suggested. She's not cheating, she's not sick physically or mentally, she's not bored of the relationship or looking for an out. According to her, one of the cats stepped on her laptop and ruined a story she was writing. She's hated both cats ever since. I mean, that sucks, but it's not worth trying to emotionally blackmail me into getting rid of them. I asked her why she didn't just tell me the truth and why she'd been lying and refused to talk about it when I asked. Her answer was, because you wouldn't have gotten rid of them otherwise, and explained that when she saw I wasn't willing to abandon them for her, she took offense and made it a goal to have me pick her over them. Sickening. Don't know why she actually admitted to it all. The woman with us asked me how I felt about all of it, and I just told the truth. I told her it was a nice run, but I'm probably going to want a divorce. I was asked why, and I told them. I see a new hateful, malicious side of her that I want nothing to do with. She was so set on getting rid of the cats over a fan fiction being ruined that she manipulated her husband. My wife started shouting at me that I betrayed her and that I'm a scum for choosing animals over her. At least cats don't give ultimatums like she gave. It sucks that she's been Baker acted and all, I guess, but it's for the best right now. She'll have time to process it in a safe environment and hopefully come to terms with it. Bad husband, I know. I'm almost sure I'm going for divorce. I'm very worried about having her in the same house as my cats. I want my cats safe and I don't want to worry about them being harmed or disappearing. Screw that. I guess I'll do what almost all of you suggested. Keep the cats, rehome the wife. Not how I wanted it to end, but life isn't always nice.
My 69-year-old mother-in-law, Sandra, is a weird woman. She even refers to herself as that. She has random outbursts, hyperfixations, tics, and struggles immensely with social cues. She hasn't been diagnosed with anything, so I won't speculate. When I first met my husband's family, I noticed that all of them, except my husband, made fun of Sandra and her quirks. For example, we were having dinner one night and my mother-in-law couldn't stop talking about flowers. She loves plants and nature and is super knowledgeable about it. My sister-in-law made a comment making fun of her and everybody at the table laughed about it. Sandra got extremely embarrassed and didn't talk for the rest of the night. This kind of behavior is normal in the family and I despise it. I get so angry whenever someone makes fun of Sandra because she's just a kind, lovely woman that I just can't fathom why they would do that. I've had a lot of conversations about this with my husband and even fights when he laughs about the jokes. We have a 15-year-old son named Alex, and my biggest fear is coming true. Alex has started to pick up on the behavior around him and has been laughing at Sandra. I've talked to him about why laughing at her is bullying and how that behavior is inappropriate, etc., but Alex doesn't seem to care. 2 weeks ago, we went to see Sandra. My brother and sister-in-law were there along with their families. Sandra looked very happy. While catching up, she randomly started clapping. This is one of her tics that appear when she's excited. My brother-in-law made a comment poking fun of her and the whole family started laughing, including my husband and Alex. Sandra got teary-eyed and had to excuse herself to the bathroom. I have never been more furious. While on our way home, I chewed my husband and son out and told them not to speak to me until they apologized to Sandra. I told them that I don't want to hear a single word directed to me until they reflect on how their actions are hurtful and disgusting. 2 weeks have passed and I haven't spoken to them. Not a single word because they've made zero attempts to apologize to Sandra. My husband is telling me that I'm being petty and hurting Alex. He's also mad at me for valuing my relation with Sandra more than my relation with them. In my mind, I'm not doing that, but my husband says that I'm being an asshole. Am I wrong for refusing to talk to them until they apologize to Sandra? My last semester at a certain college, I was assaulted by a football player for walking where he was trying to drive. No, he was 325 pounds, I was 120 pounds. While unconscious on the ground, I lived a different life. I met a wonderful young lady. She made my heart skip and my face red. I pursued her for months and dispatched a few jerk boyfriends before I finally won her over. After 2 years, we got married and almost immediately she bore me a daughter. I had a great job and my wife didn't have to work outside of the house. When my daughter was 2, my wife bore me a son. My son was the joy of my life. I would walk into his room every morning before I left for work and doted on him and my daughter. One day, while sitting on the couch, I noticed that the perspective of the lamp was odd, like inverted. It was still in 3D, but just wrong. It was a square lamp base, red with gold trim on 4 legs and a white square shade. I was transfixed. I couldn't look away from it. I stayed up all night staring at it. The next morning, I didn't go to work. Something was just not right about that lamp. I stopped eating. I left the couch only to use the bathroom at first. Soon I stopped that too and I wasn't eating or drinking. I stared at that effing lamp for 3 days before my wife got really worried. She had someone come and try to talk to me, but by this time my cognizance was breaking up and my wife was freaking out. She took our kids to her mother's house just before I had my epiphany. The lamp is not real. The house is not real. My wife, my kids, none of that is real. The last 10 years of my life are not effing real. The lamp started to grow wider and deeper. It was still inverted dimensions. It took up my entire perspective and all I could see was red. I heard voices, screams, all kinds of weird noises and I became aware of pain. A shit ton of pain. The first words I said were, "I'm missing teeth," and opened my eyes. I was laying on my back on the sidewalk surrounded by people that I didn't know. Lots were freaking out and I was completely confused. At some point a cop scooped me up, drag/walked me across the sidewalk and grass and threw me face down in the back of a cop car. I was still confused. He took me to the hospital and I got CT scans and stuff. I went through about 3 years of horrid depression. I was grieving the loss of my wife and children and dealing with the knowledge that they never existed. I was scared that I was going insane as I would cry myself to sleep hoping I would see her in my dreams. I never have, but sometimes I see my son, usually just a glimpse out of my peripheral vision. He's perpetually 5 years old and I can never hear what he says.
This is why you should always watch what you say in public. In the late 1970s, a man began breaking into homes in order to assault the families inside of them. After dozens of attacks and no suspects in custody, the citizens were totally on edge, so the police decide to host this town hall meeting so they can discuss the situation out in public. During the meeting, a local man stands up and says, "I would totally kick that guy's ass if he came anywhere near my wife." Then, in a crazy, ironic turn of events, that angry man and his wife become the next victims. Following their assault, the attacker completely changes his behavior. He goes from kind of petty home invader to full-blown serial killer, targeting only married men and their wives. When decades later, police finally identified Joseph D'Angelo as the killer, as they're going through old photos from the case, they make a startling discovery about his motives. D'Angelo had attended that town hall meeting. Ever wonder what would happen if you stopped sleeping? During World War II, the Russians wanted to find a way to keep their soldiers awake longer, so they came up with this awful experiment where they took prisoners of war, put them in a gas chamber, and then exposed them to experimental drugs to see how long they could keep them awake for. Initially, the drugs seemed great. The first 4 days, the subjects were agitated, but were normal. By day 5, they stopped interacting with each other and began acting extremely paranoid. On day 9, one of the subjects screamed for so long that he tore his vocal cord. On day 14, they started eating themselves. When they turned off the gas on day 15, all of the subjects began screaming in pain, begging for them to turn the gas back on. When they didn't, they all fell asleep and died.
So in 5th grade, my sister was dating this guy named Isaiah. And I know 5th grade is really young, but they actually ended up dating for like 5 months. Anyway, so Valentine's rolls around and my sister gets Isaiah this beautiful box of chocolate. And it was a low-key bougie kind of chocolate. You know that chocolate that tastes really good. So she gets to school and Isaiah got her some chocolate too. So she was like, okay. So she's really happy about it. And then she goes to eat it and realizes that it tastes like shit. And her being in 5th grade, she was really offended by this. Like, wow, you really got me some shitty chocolate. So at recess, she was crying and crying and crying and she was really upset about it. So anyway, she gets on the bus and I sit next to her and she's just crying about it. She's like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is so rude. And I was like, it'll be okay. Like, he's a bad boyfriend, this and that. So we get to our bus stop and we're getting off the bus and my sister collapses on the floor and starts screaming and crying. And my bus driver looks at her and goes, what is wrong with you? And I go with my 5th grade lisp, boy problems,